Hi dancers, my name is Greer. I'm the Pointe shoe specialist here at Discount Dance Supply. And today I'm going to be talking to you about pointe shoe padding and other things that you can put into your shoe to help with fit issues or to help with pain or discomfort. So there are a ton of different products that you can use to put in your shoes. I'm just going to break down some of the most basic, most popular ones that Discount Dance carries. Obviously there's a lot more variations on these, so let's get started. I'm going to go through toe pads first. So toe pads are not mandatory in pointe shoes. A lot of dancers prefer to not wear anything in their shoes, just so they can really feel the floor, and some people are totally comfortable with that. Other people like wearing toe pads. I would say most dancers like wearing toe pads in their pointe shoes, and there are a ton of different ones to choose from. And really what you want to look for is something that makes you feel the most comfortable in your shoe but doesn't change the fit of the shoe. I'm not a big fan of sticking a ton of things in your shoe so that you have to maybe go up a size or a width in the shoe, but at the same time you want to be as comfortable as possible while dancing on pointe. So I'm going to start with Ouch Pouches by Bunheads. These are probably one of the most popular toe pads that I've sold, at least when I'm fitting dancers. They're relatively thin pads. They're really easy to go on, and unlike gel pads, they don't stick on the shoe because it's a fabric inside and outside, and just a kind of thin layer of gel in between. So it doesn't change the fit of the shoe. Ouch Pouches come in various sizes. There's also Ouch Pouch Juniors and Ouch Pouch Pro Pads, which are just different shapes. So try those on and see if you like those. These are a really good option if you want some kind of padding but not something super duper thick in your shoe. Okay, the second ones are these Pointe Comfort Blue Gel Toe Pads. These are the thickest ones that I've seen, at least. These are very, very thick gel toe pads. If you do go with these, just always kind of keep them in baby powder and some kind of Tupperware, because they will get really sticky and they'll stick to each other. They'll also stick to your pointe shoes, so don't leave them in your shoes by any means. This goes for all toe pads. Don't leave them in your pointe shoes. Let them air out. But these guys especially, these are very thick. I don't necessarily recommend these unless you're a very sensitive dancer and you have a lot of sensitivity in your feet and all pointe shoes are extremely painful. Then this would be a good option for you because it is very, very thick and very gelatinous. It's very, very jelly feeling. So it's a good option if you're a very sensitive dancer. The next one is a lamb's wool pad with a gel tip. So lamb's wool used to be kind of what everyone wore in their shoes, especially if you're a kind of old school dancer. Lamb's wool was the way to go. But now they've made lamb's wool toe pads, so they're made out of natural lamb's wool, and they have a little gel tip on the bottom, so that just kind of helps the pressure on the toes right there. So that's a nice option as well. The next one are the Toe Savers by Skinny Dips. So this is gel on one side, and then if you turn it on the other side, it's a sock kind of material. So that stops the pointe shoe from sticking. If you put it on like this, put your foot in here, and then the pointe shoe goes on the sock part. These are, I'd say, between like an Ouch Pouch and the blue gel ones as far as the thickness of it. So if you want something with that gel material but don't want to go for a full gel toe pad, this is a great option. You can cut these down as well. You can cut this to fit if something is coming out of your shoe. So you want that to be kind of as seamless and aesthetically pretty as possible. So you can just take some scissors and snip the size of these down. Now I'm going to talk about the Pointe Pockets from Gaynor Minden. These are a kind of newer pointe shoe toe pad that we've picked up and started carrying, at least in our retail stores. So this one has been popular. It's pretty thin. Dancers like that. The seams are just on the side, so you're not getting any of that kind of weird, sometimes you can feel where the seam is when you're on pointe and it's on the platform. That can feel kind of uncomfortable on the toes. And this eliminates that, and it's just really cute. It has a little tiara on it. So these are a good option if you want something that's thin. And now, of course, we have our old school, just loose lamb's wool, and that's exactly what it is. It is just kind of a wad of lamb's wool. And this is a useful thing to do if you kind of have two different size feet and you can't buy two different size pointe shoes. If you need to kind of fill out some space in a shoe, lamb's wool is a good option to use for that. Of course, you don't want this to be the only thing that's making the shoe fit, and if it's a huge difference, you need to get 2 different size shoes. But if you just have a little extra space in one shoe where the foot is a little narrower or a little shorter, then you can use some lamb's wool to kind of fill out that space and make things a little more comfortable inside of the shoe. Okay, now I'm going to talk about just a couple other accessories that you can use for your shoes that are not toe pads, but are other options to use. So Gaynor Minden makes these instant wings, and I recommend these a lot for dancers that need some lateral support, but they're going with a shoe that maybe doesn't have wings already in it. So what the wings are the side part of the pointe shoe that kind of comes down to the mid-seam, and that gives you your lateral support. Some pointe shoes have really long supportive wings, some don't really have wings at all, and if you like the shoe that you have but it doesn't have wings, you can add wings with this. So all you do is you fold it up, you stick it in the shoe, and it creates some wings. So this is great. It fits in all kinds of models of shoes. It doesn't have to be Gaynor Minden shoes. You can put them in all different pointe shoes. Next are some heel grippers, also by Gaynor Minden, and I recommend these a lot for dancers with a disappearing heel or a narrow heel. What that means is maybe the shoe fits when you're standing flat, but you go up in releve, that heel gets really narrow, and maybe you're getting some bagginess on the shoe. You want to make sure that's not a fit issue. So you want to make sure that the shoe isn't too long, and that's why the shoe is getting baggy. But if the fit is correct and you just have a very narrow or disappearing heel, or your heels are slipping off the shoe a lot, even with ribbon and elastic sewn, heel grippers are a really great option. They're adhesive on one side, you just stick them in the back of the shoe, and it kind of fills out that extra space in the back. You can use these on other shoes as well, not just pointe shoes. Okay, next I have a couple things by Bunheads that you can use for your shoes. The first, I actually recommend these a lot for dancers. This is called the big tip, and it goes on your big toe like this, and you can also cut these down to size. This is usually too long for most people, so you can cut it down. And that just gives you a little extra cushion and padding on that big toe. So for dancers that have Egyptian shaped feet where the first toe is the longest and you're getting some more pressure on that big toe, this is a good option to go with. Jelly tips are another great thing by Bunheads. This is just kind of a smaller version of the big tip for your other toes that aren't as big as your big toe. You can also cut these down to size. Next are pinky pads. These are just kind of jelly little guys that you can put over your toes, and that helps if you have kind of like a corn or a blister, so it's not like rubbing against your shoe. This is a really great option for that. And then space pack. So toe spacers, I get asked a lot about toe spacers by dancers. Not something that I recommend unless you really need it. Again, I don't like putting a ton of things in a pointe shoe that you don't need. So, but if you do need toe spacers, these are a great option. So when I recommend toe spacers, it's usually because a dancer has a bunion, or she already has a pretty big space between her first and second toes, and then when she goes on pointe, they squeeze together and overlap. So you want to create some space there by putting in a toe spacer so that her toes aren't crunching in on each other when she's on releving. And then if you have a bunion, this is really helpful too, because when you have that inside bunion and you go on pointe, you're getting a lot of pressure right there because the toes are crunched in. If you put a toe spacer there, that's going to create some space and take some of that pain away from that inside bunion. So the space pack has 2 big ones like this, and then 2 smaller ones like this for your other toes. And then, what else do I have here? Okay, I'm also going to talk about these. These are really cool. These are also by Gaynor Minden. They're called Dancer Dots. So we have these in the tiny packets like this that are kind of travel size, easy to throw into your dance bag. And then we also have the bigger jar of these. And these are really cool. They're kind of these just like little gelatinous pink dots. And what you do is if you have a blister, these are great for that. You just peel off this back part, you stick that on your blister. It feels really cool and it's kind of like comforting. And then you just kind of put some medical tape or a Band-Aid over it, and that's going to give you a little jelly cushion on any kind of blister or painful sore spot on your foot. And then speaking of medical tape, we have some by Gaynor Minden here. This is a kind of foamy medical tape, so it's not just the very thin tape. This has a little bit of cushion to it. So medical tape is used in pointe shoes if you're wrapping a blister, wrapping your toes, something that gets a lot of pain and pressure, just to give it a little kind of extra pillow cushion in there. You can wrap your toes up. And then I also have one here by Suffolk. It's a little more of kind of like a gauze type material toe wraps. So anytime that you use these guys, you want to wrap it in some kind of medical tape so it doesn't slip off into your shoe. So I think I've gone over everything I have here. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll definitely get around to those. I hope this has been helpful. Thanks for watching.